Now I'm gonna quickly explain the million-dollar question of whether you should go for fall or spring and what is the big deal about the comparison between the two different intakes. So there are many things about a spring intake or a fall intake, but then let's quickly look at the cons of a spring intake. So here are some of the cons or the reasons why you should not take the spring intake is because simply put, it is not available in some of the graduate programs. For example, there are many of the top schools that do not have a spring intake. So your favorite program may not be available. So that is one of the major reasons why people don't choose it. But as I told you before, a spring intake is like a minor intake or a middle, it is something that is happening in the middle of the academic year for major universities, and therefore you have to be very clear about how the academic cycle works for it before deciding to opt for it. So it's not available in some graduate schools, as you can see, which is a university, and it's very program specific. Then secondly, what happens is you will be joining the program in January. Now, January, February, March, April. So that is when typically your semester or your quarter, however they call it, gets done. Once that's over, typically in May, June, July, August, many people might do internships. But because the summer semester is typically off, but you will not have a chance to take up the external internships. You can take up the research internships with the professors. Okay, external internships are, for example, you cannot go and do an internship with, say, a Google or Apple or something. But you can definitely take up an internship with your own professor working on some research project for them. So, unavailability of external internships or, not getting the permission to do it as per the records is something that is there. And then on-campus student jobs will be filled by the fall applicants. So that's mostly that happens because see, many of the times the jobs are going to be for 8 months or so. So many of the jobs are going to be already taken by the fall applicants. So that is one thing. But that said, there are many other jobs that are there. So that is not a problem. Now, what are the pros of the spring intake? Is that you don't have to wait for 8 months before you join a program. See, for example, let's say that you are graduating in September 2022. Now, you don't have to wait till September 2023 in order to go for a particular program. You can go and start applying for the January intake itself. Okay. But many times, I think in India, most people are going to graduate in May, right? So that is the deal. Now, again, preparation for the spring semester, as you all know, has to happen earlier. Okay. So just like how you prepare for fall almost 8 months before, similarly, you'll have to apply for the spring intake also almost 8 months before. All right. So that's one of the biggest advantages. You don't have to wait for 8 months till September to join. You can always join in January itself. Now, there are going to be number of applicants in this particular spring intake will be lesser. You can use this to your advantage by creating a competitor profile. See, many a time I had a lot of my clients who applied for the spring and who were very successful with spring intake. They had all worked on their profiles, right? They had all worked on taking up an internship during the break that they had between their graduation and their going to the to the program in January and so on. So many times you can use the extra time available in order to work on your profile and then apply. Okay, what extra time I'm talking about? See, for example, in if it's fall, you'll be applying in September. Right, if it's like for the spring, you'll be applying later, right? So that 4 months extra that you get is what I'm telling. Now, if you're not got admitted for the previous fall, then going for the spring option is always a good best option for you to have so that you don't have to waste time. You can try for what we call as co-op programs. I know that you couldn't take external internships before, but you can take an external internship called a co-op during the fall or the spring. Okay. So if you're going to join in say January 2024, you can then finish your program till September 2024, and in September 2024 you can go and join for an external internship which is called as a co-op program. Okay, so you don't do that fall semester, September 2024 semester, you don't going to do it, but you will do it in the fall and then do it. So after completing 8 months of study, you can you're allowed to do what we call as a co-op program. So now whatever I told you is typically for the United States, and majority of the times it also works for the other parts of the country. The only difference is going to be that it's going to be called differently. For example, in Germany, it's winter summer. Australia is again winter summer versus like some of the other places as well. Okay, and Canada typically only has fall, winter. It doesn't even have summer. So you can look at that and take a, many of the times we say that the seasons shaped the education systems out there. So this is kind of a quick comparison between the two of them in order to help you decide between fall and spring.